Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take another look here at Bitcoin, see what's going on, of course, help understand best practice, big picture. We're going to take a look also at the US dollar index. There is an interesting pattern forming there, and that is usually an inverse pairing. So, the US dollar goes up, Bitcoin goes down, vice versa. So we'll take a look at that as well. And if you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade, I hope you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. So if you want to, improve, CryptoCache.tech is a website, link in the description below. Thank you to all of my current community members as well as new members jumping in here. In fact, it's interesting. We've got more people wanting to come in, and now that the bottom is getting closer than obviously the entire time it was coming down. So a lot of folks are trying to learn to become better traders, and I respect that. So thank you again for checking that out. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I do have also discounts for military and third world countries as well. So if you are in that category, message me direct, use the comments section below for my contact information. I will never message you direct or try to solicit you. So just heads up on that. A lot of scammers out there, be careful. So taking a look here at Bitcoin, here's kind of the big deal, or the big picture. I wouldn't say it's a big deal per se, but let's go ahead and take a look at, first of all, the dollar index. And I just want to kind of bring this to your attention just based on the simple fact that we do have somewhat of a pattern forming here. It's more, I guess, identifiable. You can see it a lot easier or clearer on the 4-hour. But we do have this descending type of pattern here. Essentially, it's basically a symmetrical triangle, and in most cases, it does break to the downside. But regardless of that fact, what we want to know is if this dollar index opens later today and it gaps down, then we could experience an increase in value from Bitcoin. It'll probably go up. Okay. So it's kind of an interesting thing the way that it works, but generally speaking, that's how these two things are connected. So pay attention to this going up or down. I personally feel like it's going to break down further, which would be positive for Bitcoin. That would improve our chances of having a green day tomorrow, or even tonight, depending on how the actual Eastern Hemisphere decides they want to control the market, right? So a lot of different scenarios that could unfold, but that's just something I wanted you to kind of pay attention to and understand, because it's a good thing to know. All right, so taking a look at the daily on Bitcoin. Actually, we can go ahead and start with the monthly and just kind of work our way down. Monthly hasn't closed yet, but we are trending really, really close to right above that simple moving average of the 50. So this is kind of a combination of what happened back in December of 2018, where we had the price come down very, very close to that level, never officially touched it, but we also have the previous pandemic as well, and that's when the price action actually dipped below. So if you see here, you got the 50-day simple moving average. We got an actual large candle wick all the way down. It came back up. That was the month of March, of course, crazy time frame for markets. So that's when we saw the price come way down here, essentially for Bitcoin. And now we're seeing something very similar, with world events, of course, causing this to happen. We can see the price actions coming down to that level. So again, just something to kind of be mindful of. Not really super important just yet, but we've got about 4 or 5 days left in the month right here for left of trading days. So we're getting close. We're also getting close to a weekly closure of a green candle, which is a good sign. It could tell us that we are potentially going to reverse this roll and see further upside. Okay, so again, looking pretty good there in that sense. Bitcoin has mostly decent qualities. Again, we got to kind of acknowledge the obvious. We're in a descending type of pattern. If you look on the daily, you can see this is a 50-day simple moving average just working concurrent with that descending trend line. So until we're back up above that, try not to celebrate prematurely. We're not out of the woods yet, but good news is there are some positive things forming on the larger time frames that are kind of helping shift that momentum. And not saying that there isn't still potential for further downside. We could totally see that. US dollar jumps up tomorrow. Well, we might see a drop down tomorrow from Bitcoin. So just something, again, to pay attention to. Taking a look at, of course, RSI, we're still maintaining up over 30, which is great. Trending closer to 50, but more so just kind of hanging out in that lower part there. It's not really all that great. It doesn't really tell us a tremendous amount. We do have a MACD convergence on the daily, which is positive in the overall sense of things. It's also relevant because on the US dollar index, we have a MACD divergence to the downside. So if it does break to the downside, which is, I would say, slightly more probable, we should see Bitcoin, of course, increase from here. Another reason why it's possibly going to increase as well is a handful of little reasons. Let me go and explain. First things first, if you can see here, we got this ascending type of pattern. I know it's not concrete, but you do have 2 points in which we can see higher lows. Okay, so we're establishing higher lows here. We can see those two there. We can also see the price action is coming up and trending closer to about 21,700. So this is this level. The price couldn't pass that back on the 21st. It's come close a few days, and today it got tested and rejected. Okay, so that being said, the likelihood of the price breaking to the upside is higher based on the simple fact that we keep testing those levels multiple times. The more often you knock on a window or you try to smash a window in, it's going to break, right? For the most part here in this situation with Bitcoin, we can see we're testing those levels. We have potential breakdown on the dollar index and a handful of other reasons why I personally feel like we might actually see a break to the upside. So again, we're establishing higher lows and still higher highs. And until that trend discontinues, we should expect it to continue. That's the idea, right? Because the trend is your friend, you get on the right side of the tracks. Right now, the good side of the tracks is more so a long position versus a short position. Not saying that we couldn't see a turnaround tomorrow, that is still very likely, but it's less likely than it is for the price to break upwards. Again, a handful of reasons for that. Let's take a look at the 4 hour and see what that looks like for us. So on the 4 hour, we can see we're staying above 50 on the RSI, which is very healthy, establishing still continuous higher lows, which is also very healthy. The higher highs are happening, not as consistent, but generally speaking, higher lows are more important on a breakout to the upside. So again, those are very good reasons here why I feel the price should continue higher. Furthermore, we've got TD sequential. We're getting nice resets around 4s and 5s here recently. So that's a very good sign too, kind of helping us understand we're not overexhausted by any stretch. Obviously, we have low volume this weekend. That is very standard. But once the volume does return later today and or tomorrow, we will see that potential happen. Now here's something that's also conflicting. Though, keep this in mind, we do have a MACD divergence forming here. It is intersecting essentially. That's not a guarantee, but oftentimes if you can find that to be concurrent with the Ichimoku cloud, then it's a case in point where you might want to pay attention. So let's take a look at the cloud too. And I always look at it on the 1 hour. I think it's just the most effective time frame to use based on my trading style. I hold positions anywhere from minutes to a couple, maybe even a week, right? A couple days up to a week, I would say at the most. And the hourly Ichimoku Cloud is very good about helping you understand those types of shifts in momentum. So here's kind of what we're looking at here. So first of all, we're above the cloud, which is great. We can see the price is still trending above the cloud here. Okay, comes down, rejects, rejects. So it's not willing to come any lower. And that's the great thing about the cloud. If you're above the cloud, you know that you want to probably keep your position open. Not necessarily saying you should take a position right now, but generally speaking, that's the concept, right? We're on the right side of the tracks there. Okay, so that's conflicting because the fact that the 4 hour has a MACD divergence, but it's mostly just because of this significant sell-off here based on the fact that it pushed up really hard. So to me, I'd much rather take the fact that we're above the cloud and we're on an ascending pattern, we're establishing higher lows, as kind of a sway in the positive side of things to the upside versus just going on a MACD divergence on a 4 hour time frame, right? So again, something to think about, of course, but generally speaking, we can see the lagging span is soon to intersect with price action, kind of already has. So that kind of tells us that opening a long position may not be advantageous, but on the same accord, we're still maintaining this trend line here, and the trend is working right in concurrent with a lower lead too. So it's interesting how that happens, just like the 50-day SMA on the daily. You can see that hourly oftentimes work with ascending trends or descending trends as well when it comes to the cloud. So mostly good stuff there, and then we take a look at TD sequential, we can see we got up to a 7 and a bunch of resets, so not really a whole heck of a lot going on right now. So all in all, that's kind of where we're at there. This is kind of low volume, standard weekend. Last weekend, of course, was kind of an anomaly. We had a tremendous amount of volume at that lower price point. So once again, it does look like Bitcoin wants to break to the upside, but I would pay very close attention to the US dollar index and kind of see if we gap up or down, or just generally what that looks like tomorrow or later today, essentially when the futures is open. So something to think about, of course, as per usual. And it's a big thinking process, right? We just got to try to figure out the best method and the best way of understanding what the odds are. And I hear a lot of people too, sometimes they'll say that technical analysis isn't really relevant. And in some cases you're right. It's not like 100% certain. No way. But it does increase the odds of success. It's much better than going to a blackjack table and doubling down. You effectively have a lot more information to use instead of only counting cards. All right. So again, it's a tremendously better way to go, and ultimately looks very, it looks like we're looking very promising here to the upside, just based on a handful of factors. All right, and that's what the technical data is telling us. All right, so take that how you will. I hope that you fare well. Thank you so much for joining me here, of course, today. If you want to become a better trader, don't forget CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time.